kill Spike Drone!
Hello, this is Rage Quitter, and this is episode 2 in a series I like to call Heavy Shield Skills. In this episode, we'll be discussing the Spike Drone. If you missed the previous episode on Insta-Kill, click the link below to watch. In this series, we talk about advanced techniques using the Heavy Shield. We discuss techniques such as boost slam bashing, Insta-Kill, exo shield swapping, quick swapping, and in this episode, the Spike Drone. Specifically in this episode, we'll be talking about 3 different techniques that I use on a daily basis with the Heavy Shield with Spike Drones. We'll talk about quick spiking, pre-aim strafing, drag spiking, and then finally, the concept of the paradox using the Heavy Shield with Spike Drones of verticality. Let's first talk about the quick spike technique. There are 2 ways to aim the Spike Drone. One is to hard spike aim, where you bring the crosshairs up, aim at your opponent, and then release. This is probably one of the worst ways to aim with the Spike Drone because it leaves you slightly more vulnerable to bullet fire while you're aiming. My preference is to use the quick spike technique as you see in these videos, where I wait until the opponent is in the center mass of my screen and then quickly release the Spike Drone in their face.
Triple kill, look at the feed! Spike Drone, triple feed. Oh my god, I got a triple kill with Spike Drones just now.
This trains your muscle memory to react quickly to enemy opponents, and especially in advanced warfare with the boost dodging, you need to react quickly. The next technique we will be reviewing is called the pre-aim strafe. With an aggressive playstyle, you need to check every corner and doorway as you enter and clear a room. Watch as I enter this room, it's empty. We'll do that in slow motion so that you can see me look at the distant door, the door to the right, the window to the right, front of the ambulance, and down the stairs. Each of these areas I'm checking for oncoming enemy attackers as well as corner campers, with the center mass of the Heavy Shield pointed in the direction of potential enemies. When you combine this with the quick spike technique, you can react quickly to enemy attackers and also to enemy campers. In the next series of clips, you'll see me use this pre-aim strafe technique to react quickly to enemy attackers. When I pre-aim a corner, I'm basically predicting or guessing where an enemy could potentially be hiding or attacking. This window is a common spot for people to hide. As I run through an area, I check both windows, doorways, and corners with a pre-aim, making sure the center mass of my screen is aimed directly at the opponent. Let's break it down in slow motion. I see the enemy in the doorway. I aim with the right joystick to adjust for distance, and then I strafe with the left stick to make sure the center mass of the enemy is in the center of my screen. Now finally we'll talk about the final technique, which is the drag spike technique. Drag spike technique I use when the enemy is close or when they're strafing. The initial quick spike aim of the crosshairs might be slightly to the left or right of an enemy, and with the right joystick you can drag your screen across the enemy until the crosshairs match up and align with the enemy center body mass. That's the moment when you release the Spike Drone and hit them in the face. Here's a series of clips you'll see me using this technique. Pay close attention to the way the crosshairs drag across the center mass of the enemy as I rotate the aim left and right. It's especially critical when the enemy is strafing or trying to run around your shield, as a lot of enemies tend to do in close quarter combat. As the enemy moves left or right, you drag spike your screen so that your crosshairs line up with the enemy, and then release the Spike Drone, just as the crosshairs match up and align with the center body mass of the opponent. With the 3 techniques of Spike Droning with the Heavy Shield reviewed, let's talk finally about the paradox of verticality with the Heavy Shield. Map awareness of topography and map awareness of distances and elevations gives you a sense as to how high to aim your spike drone to correct for distance drop of the spike drone. The further the distance and the higher the elevation, with experience lets you know how high to aim your shield to spike drone the enemy in the face. The paradox of using the heavy shield is the further the distance, or the higher the elevation of the opponent, the higher you need to aim your shield to be offensive with the spike drone. However, while you're aiming up to correct for this verticality or distance, you leave your feet more exposed to enemy fire. Now this is the paradox. On the one hand, we need to be defensive to protect our feet. On the other hand, we need to be offensive and aim above the enemy. To correct for this paradox, you'll often see me in a lot of the clips, aiming high to get the opponent with the spike drone, but then immediately after, looking down to protect my feet. The other aspect of this paradox is that on the high ground, the lines of sight allow your enemy to more easily shoot your feet. Because on the high ground, your feet are more exposed to enemy fire. On the low ground, your feet are more protected, and you're less likely to be shot at the feet. So unlike other instances of advanced warfare, the heavy shield is stronger or more defensive on the low ground versus the high ground. On the high ground, you're more often shot in the feet and killed by an enemy opponent. This knowledge of the verticality paradox is useful in determining what is the best angle of attack to approach an enemy. Because on the low ground, you're more defensive and more protected from enemy fire. The paradox also lets you know when to aim up and fire and also when to aim down. I hope you enjoyed this episode on spike drones with heavy shields, where we review the techniques using the heavy shield with spike drones, including quick spiking, pre-aim strafing, drag spiking, and finally we talked about the verticality paradox with the heavy shield. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode.